What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week. We have the first new Lamborghini V12 supercar in over 10 years with the Revuelto. And I'll be talking more about that here in this weekly update and all kinds of other interesting debuts. I also want to mention, any of you who are regular watchers, you'll see there's a different backdrop here. I'm in San Francisco at a hotel here for the drive of the Mazda CX-90. That review will be coming out here this coming Monday, so stay tuned for that. So I'm on location here for that one, and you have the Embarcadero behind you here. I thought it was a really cool view. I apologize if there's some background noise and obviously not an ideal condition, but a very cool little backdrop here while you watch me talk about the news. And we got the Bay Bridge behind us there and all kinds of great stuff. But anyway, getting into the news here, before I get to the Revuelto, I first want to also mention I'll be doing a live stream here this Sunday at noon Eastern time, so definitely join for that if you can. We'll be talking cars, answering all your questions, and just having a good time. So join if you can. But anyway, getting into the first news story here this week, Lamborghini has revealed that Aventador successor called the Revuelto. I believe it's supposed to be a W there where you see the EU. And so I think they really nailed the looks though. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below here, but I think it looks a lot better than the patent images previously suggested. The lights are nestled there under the hood there. It's inspired by a Ducati, which I think is a really cool new perspective. Also, you get the high mounted exhaust tips, another thing taken from those motorcycles, but also, you know, pays homage to the jet inspired thing, and you know, just looks really, really cool. It's also awesome how you now have the V12 that's prominently displayed there right under. There's not even any glass there or anything. It's kind of exposed like you see on like the Bugattis and things like that. It looks really cool. Also, there's the flying buttresses there are a nice touch, and like I covered in my previous weekly updates, it runs the new 6.5 liter naturally aspirated V12 combined with 3 electric motors for 1,001 horsepower total, and has a 9,500 RPM red line. And this week Lamborghini did also revealed that it's going to have a 2.5 second 0 to 62 mile per hour time and a 0 to 124 mile per hour time of under 7 seconds, which is basically pretty close to the Bugatti Chiron's 6.5 second 0 to 124 time. So I mean, we're talking basically Bugatti acceleration up to at least 124, which is really impressive considering the Bugatti, I mean, has hundreds more horsepower than even this vehicle does. So, I mean, they're really doing some impressive stuff with those electric motors. And again, the power of electrification, which we keep seeing how you add some electrification to a car and it just makes it wildly faster, even if it still does use a gas engine like this does. But anyway, one thing that's kind of surprising about the specs here is that they're saying that it's got a top speed of just 217 miles per hour, which is basically the same as the old Aventador. I'm not sure why, because clearly this car has a lot more juice to, you know, keep it going a lot faster than that. But 217 is still the top speed supposedly. And so anyway, it runs through a new 8-speed dual clutch automatic that has all-wheel drive as well, so it's all kind of combined. But this time, you know, like I mentioned again previously, it has a front axle with electric motors. The gas engine only powers the rear engine, the rear wheels now, so there's no physical connection to the front anymore. That transmission tunnel is now filled with batteries. And so that gives you a pretty small battery pack here. It's 3.8 kilowatt hours. And so that powers 3 different little electric motors. And they say the range rating will be probably, I think they said it's like 6 miles on the WLTP, something like that. It's going to be probably under 5 here for the EPA. I mean, which is I think the lowest for a plug-in hybrid ever that I've seen. And so because it's so small, they are actually giving you the option. You can either fully recharge it through a port in the front, so you can't really public charge this thing, not like you really would, and it takes so quick anyway because it's such a small battery, but it's in the front, you have to pop that to, you know, charge it, or you can just charge it with the engine. And so they say if you charge it with the engine, I believe you get like a mile a minute of range because it's such a good, again, that small battery. So I think they said you can fully recharge the battery in like 6 minutes or something just off of the engine. I mean, it's a big engine, so a big electric generator basically, but still kind of funny that you can recharge it that fast with a V12. Other things here though about it, those motors also provide torque vectoring in addition to the low speed EV driving. And other performance specs here are 10 piston front brake calipers and a wheelbase that's about 3 inches longer than the Aventador. The roofline also was raised by about 1 inch to provide more interior space, and it now has more space behind the rear seats as well, and supposedly just a roomier interior overall. Other interior features are a 12.3 inch gauge cluster, an 8.4 inch infotainment screen, and a 9.1 inch passenger display that's available as well. And that kind of does the same thing as the Ferrari ones and stuff, where you can you know, pass information off from the driver to the passenger and things like that. They've also joined Ferrari with putting the main controls on the steering wheel and ditching the stocks for everything except cruise control, which interesting, it uses an Audi cruise control stock. which is good, but I don't know why, I guess they just ran out of room on the wheel, but it's kind of funny. They're just joining Ferrari with that. It's a bit unfortunate as far as that goes. But anyway, no pricing for these have been released yet, but obviously it's going to be more than the Aventador. And Lamborghini says the first 2 years of production are already completely sold out. So, of course, pricing doesn't matter for these things anyway. But anyway, deliveries will begin for those pre-ordered owners in 2024. So, cool to see that. Another very good looking but much more affordable car that debuted this week was the 2024 Sonata from Hyundai. And so I think it gets my vote for the most improved design for a refresh ever. I mean, that controversial front end, which had some cool touches, I thought, and it was very bold and daring, but that's been completely thrown out because sales have tanked on the Sonata. They think the styling, I think, is part of the reason why. So, going back to the drawing board here, but I mean, for just a refresh, it's the same thing underneath, but they completely restyled that front end and really changed the look for the better, I think, honestly. So you got that single little light bar there going across the full width of the front there. And also in the back, it also looks sportier with full width taillights now that have this H kind of pattern with the vertical LED part there at the edges. And it also connects at the top of the trunk lid there, the whole black portion, which looks a lot more aggressive. You also see the lower rear bumper is a lot more aggressive, at least here on the N-Line versions especially, where you get quad exhaust tips now on the N-Line. It's dual exhausts there on the non-N-Line also still look pretty nice, but that N-Line really got amped up nicely and really matches the aggressive performance of that vehicle now, I think, a little bit better. And so it's also great to see the N-Line continuing. There was rumors N-Line stuff might not stick around for some of these models. I'm really glad that stuck around. It still could use a little bit of slip diff. We haven't gotten any of the mechanical details yet, so I guess there's still a little bit of hope that we'll actually see a mechanical limit slip diff in the front end, which it badly needs. But I'm not holding my breath for that one. So anyway, just good to see the N-Line's continuing there regardless. The inside also gets a really nice improvement here, now featuring a single curved display for the first time in a Hyundai with double 12.3-inch screens. I believe my suspicion is that's the same curved display that Kia already has been using recently. I think now Hyundai's getting it as well. The HVAC area is new as well, and the shifter has been moved to the steering column like in other Hyundais, so that gives you even more space in the middle now. And I love that Hyundai is doing a column-mounted shifter. It's a very retro kind of thing, and I'm glad that they're bold enough to try bringing that back. We'll see how that works for them, but I'm all about it. I think it's great, and you'll see my thoughts on that in the Ioniq 6, which also has that here. I'll be posting that video on Monday as well. Double reviews on Monday, so get ready for that. But anyway, back to the Sonata here. We don't have any specs for it yet, like I said, but the international debut will be happening this week, actually, and Hyundai has a press conference at the New York Auto Show next week where they'll be probably showing off our version of the new Sonata as well as the American version of the Kona and some more details on that, since there's been tricklings of that coming out little by little, but we haven't gotten the full info on the American version of either of these yet, so we'll hopefully have that here next week. And ahead of the New York Auto Show, Kia has already given the specs for the European version of the EV9 this week. So I guess we'll get American specs next week at the Auto Show. But for now, some specs here for Europe. I'll cover it because it's probably going to be the same, and I'll just be brief about it. But it's probably going to be the same setup, most likely, for the most part here for the States. But anyway, the longest range version of this will use a 99.8 kilowatt-hour battery combined with a single rear motor for 336 miles of range on the easier WLTP test cycle. So here in the States, it'll get downgraded. Maybe it'll be over 300, just barely, but it might be slightly under that as well. But the way it does that is by only using a 201 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque single rear motor. Same thing you get in all the other Ioniqs. And so as a result, this one's going to be slow. It's going to be a 9.4 second 0 to 62 mile per hour time for that one. I'm skeptical if they will actually bring that here, just possibly maybe to say, it has this, peak range rating, but I doubt they're actually going to sell very many of those or even build very many for the US if they do bring it here. So we'll see what they say next week. But anyway, there's also going to be a smaller battery available, and that's going to be a 76.1 kilowatt hour battery pack that strangely does 215 horsepower, so a little more for that one, but the same 258 pound-feet of torque. And because of that lighter battery, that one will interestingly do an 8.2 second 0 to 60 time, but I don't think there's any range listed for that one just yet. The top version, though, is a dual-motor all-wheel drive version that only comes with the big battery and has 380 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque. And and that one will do a 6-second 0 to 60 time, and also does 5,000 pounds of towing as well. If you want more power, Kia is venturing into the subscription thing here, unfortunately, by offering a boost feature. And that boost, they boost the torque by up to 516 pound-feet of torque instead of the 443 of before. And so that drops the 0 to 60 time to 5.3 seconds now. So we'll see if they try this subscription in the US. This was something they announced for Europe. And they even emphasized in Europe, though, that it can be something you install or turn on at the dealer. I'm hoping that means you can bundle it into your financing with the new car purchase, but they said it could be an after sale kind of thing as well, to unlock the boost mode. In a Genesis you get the boost mode as standard. There's boost modes and other stuff from Hyundai and Kia and all that, but for this one they'll make you pay to unlock that top torque. So interesting, again, that they're trying that. But anyway, being on the eGMPA platform means it's going to get very fast charging. They haven't really detailed the speeds just yet, but it'll be 800 volts, so it should be really fast. And obviously the battery's a little bigger, so it might not be that same 18-minute time you're used to hearing about other eGMP vehicles, but still should be very fast for the charging there. And it also has a few other Kia firsts, like a corn extract they're using to provide convincing faux leather. There's no real leather actually available here for the EV9, interestingly, at least again in Europe. We'll see what they say for us. Also, it's going to be the first Kia to have their new highway driving pilot feature for conditional level 3 autonomy, they say. So it uses 15 radar sensors and 2 LiDAR sensors, great they're including the LiDAR there, to allow the car to drive itself where conditions permit, is what they say. But the driver still needs to be able to take over when needed. It can also automatically park itself using the key fob when you get that top option there. So the last little bit of news for now is they confirmed that a GT version will arrive in early 2025. They're already working on it. They already confirmed it is coming. And they say it's going to be, probably it's going to be at least as powerful as the EV6 GT, if not more powerful. And anyways, we should get the US details again next week there for the regular EV9. So stay tuned for that. Some shocking news from Toyota this week, unofficially, although it's kind of official. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but newspaper Nikkei in Japan claims that Toyota is going to quit selling the Camry in Japan, and the Japanese dealers aren't even able to order them anymore. So it's already basically gone, aside from whatever's on the lots in Japan. And it sounds like other markets, including the US, are safe, and apparently it's sold in over 100 markets, and Japan was never one of its best markets, actually, since it was actually a vehicle kind of developed more for the US market. And so they're saying that don't worry, it's still going to stick around in America for sure. And apparently they've sold about 10 times as many Camrys here in the US over its lifespan of the nameplate compared to in Japan. So 10 times more here, so that is why it'll continue here, because it does sell still pretty well compared to Japan, where there's just other options, and it's, again, kind of large and stuff. So anyway, pretty crazy to hear, though, since it's one of the oldest things in its segment. It's been around for a long time, and I'm guessing we will get a new Camry here soon, even if it's probably going to get even more Americanized now if they don't have to worry about anything from Japan. And we'll see. I just hope it comes soon, because now the Camry is one of the oldest in its segment, as far as the amount of model years that this one has been around without any kind of real big refresh, aside from the new screen they put in a couple of years ago. But that's it. So I think it really is getting long in tooth these days, and I hope that they come out with something relatively soon. But it doesn't seem like anything super close on the horizon, because we haven't seen anything spied really yet or anything like that. So we'll have to see. But I'm just glad they're keeping it around here, since apparently they're not keeping it around other places. So interesting to hear that. One new Toyota that sounds like it might actually be on the horizon soon is the new Tacoma. So a teaser image on Instagram, they're back to Toyota doing these. They did these teasers last year with the GR Corolla. So this time on Instagram they showed the old Tacoma, but an interesting license plate on the back of it that reads 4423, and a blurred vehicle is hiding in the background that looks similar to the leaked patent images we already have seen for the new Tacoma. So I guess we'll see what April 4th brings. I mean, clearly that's the same week as the New York Auto Show here, but Toyota doesn't have a press conference scheduled for New York. So I don't know. This was kind of a head scratcher. I kind of discounted this whenever I first heard about it, but then, it seems like this is pretty legit as far as this teaser image goes. I don't think it's coincidence that these things they're doing in this teaser image. So I don't know what's coming April 4th. Maybe they will do a full reveal of the Tacoma. Yeah, that one's an interesting curveball for me. We'll see what ends up happening. I'm inclined to think that maybe it'll be like a new teaser image, and they'll start actually officially teasing or announcing the Tacoma coming on, next week. But we'll see. Maybe they'll do the full reveal and just be like, ta-da, here it is next week. We'll have to wait and see. But interesting to hear that. In other truck news here, though, Chevy is adding the Duramax diesel as an option on the Silverado ZR2 for the 2024 model year. So that makes it also the only diesel full-size off-road thing in the segment. Ram has gotten rid of their diesel for the most part. Ford got rid of the diesel in the F-150 in general. Neither of them, I think, ever offered it in the off-road stuff, aside from maybe like the Ram Rebel. But this is a lot more aggressive than the Ram Rebel with the ZR2, and I reviewed it just a few months back. Very impressive even with the V8, but with the diesel it's going to be great because it actually, even though it goes down on horsepower, down to 305 horsepower with that diesel, but 495 pound-feet of torque, which is a nice bump over the V8 torque. So another nice change though for the V8 version of the Silverado for 2024 here is that there's a new active exhaust available on the V8 version only, on the 6.2 liter V8 to be specific, that opens valves whenever you're in its sport mode. So it's an actual valved exhaust. It's going to get nice and loud. I really wish that would have been on this ZR2 that I tested a few months back, because that's one of the things I said. I was like, I could use more exhaust sound. Sounds like they already had a fix in the works, and here we go with a nice loud exhaust here for the Silverados. I think active exhausts are great. I'm glad they're offering that. And so otherwise, there's a few minor trim and package changes, a couple new colors, wheels, things like that. They didn't say when they'll be available, but it should be sometime later this year here. And so anyway, cool to see that. Ford also has some truck news of their own this week. So they revealed that their next electric truck is currently codenamed Project T3, and it stands for Trust the Truck, supposedly, which that could go any number of ways. So anyway, that's what they're calling it for now, and it'll start production in 2025 and be built at the new Blue Oval City in Tennessee that's currently under construction. And they did a promo event this week, being like, hey, look, we're building this factory, and the last little bit of info we got from that whole promo event here is that CEO Jim Farley teased PJ O'Rourke once described American pickups as a back porch with an engine attached. Well, this new truck is going to be the Millennium Falcon with a back porch attached, which sounds interesting. Now, we heard previous rumors about Ford doing a new truck that would be like really radical and crazy, and so some people are thinking this is going to be the next generation of the F-150 Lightning. Maybe they'll take it in a more extreme direction. Other people are suggesting this is going to be a different thing, and there was some talk of this being a completely different segment, like a segment buster and something completely out of left field, and it wouldn't be an electric Ranger or something more traditional. Maybe it's their version of a Cybertruck or something. We'll have to wait and see. That's certainly what it sounds like. They're going after making a Ford Cybertruck or something. So anyway, whatever it is, I think previously they said they expected the volumes to be enormous on whatever this thing is. So again, we'll all see, but at least, we now have a timeline here. It's going to start production in 2025. So, not too far off here, and so interesting to hear that. Another vehicle that's on the horizon here is the Aston Martin DB11 successor. We've seen there's been some spy photos of it running around, and it's supposed to be revealed this summer. That's what the intel seems to be suggesting. And so CarBuzz this week found a patent for the DB12 name, which suggests that that's probably going to be the new name. And that kind of makes sense. Now, typically, they went DB9. There's the DB10 just for the James Bond, Spectre movie, but it was basically it was DB7, DB9, DB11. So I guess some people were maybe expecting DB13. I know there's some weirdness about the number 13 in certain cultures and stuff, so maybe they're deciding to go with 12. It also sounds like Aston Martin is pitching this new car as being really radically changed, but it also does seem like it's going to be really evolutionary from the spy photos, where it looks like a refreshed DB11 and not having huge changes. So DB12 could certainly make more sense than DB13 or some other crazy jump in numbers if it is just kind of an evolutionary thing. We'll see. Now, Aston Martin told Auto Express officially that Aston Martin regularly files international trademark applications to protect names for possible future use. So not a confirmation, not a denial either. I think, obviously this isn't, rocket science here. DB12 is probably what's going to be. Makes sense. CarBuzz also discovered that the name Vanguard this past week was also copyrighted by Aston Martin in several different, they submitted applications in all kinds of different countries for that name. Now, Carbuzz thinks that could be Aston Martin's first electric vehicle. I think that's still a little ways off, so I'm not sure, what the deal is with the Vanguard name. Again, it could be just them trademarking something for fun. We'll have to see, but regardless, I'm glad they're sticking with the V names, although Vanguard, at least here in the States, I just think of like the financial firm, but definitely, I'm glad they stuck with the V name, and I could see that potentially working for an Aston Martin. So let me know what you think about that name in the comments below, but anyway, interesting to hear that. Porsche has revealed the interior for the new or heavily refreshed Cayenne here this week before the full reveal at the Shanghai Auto Show on April 18th. And so it's mostly it looks like it's going to be getting just the same Porsche bits that it doesn't have already, including like the 911 steering wheel and the shifter. Also, it looks like it's going to get the curved digital gauges from the Taycan and a 10.9-inch passenger display, which also appears to be from the Taycan, most likely. And I mean, all great improvements. It's just funny that they're just basically taking all the new stuff off the Porsche parts shelf and tossing it in the Cayenne here. But I think it looks really nice the way they redid it, and there's still some buttons there. I think it's a really nice interior from what we can see so far. One little thing that we haven't seen on other Porsches just yet is the little nub that you used to have to twist in place of what used to be the ignition key on the left-hand side there. That has been thrown out, and now there's just an ordinary start button, unfortunately, there, which, I guess it's not a huge deal, and everyone else is just doing buttons, but that was a nice little thing on the Porsche, a nice little homage to the old stuff. I guess at least it's on the left-hand side still, so there's still some, homage being paid to those old cars, but still just unfortunate that you're not going to be able to twist a key to turn on a Porsche anymore. You gotta, sit there and just press the button like everything else. So that's the only little downside there. The last little thing though is there's an image that shows a sketch of the interior, but also in the background there teases the back end of the new Cayenne, which looks to get a 911 inspired light bar there in the back. So again, very derivative again with the styling for these things, and I think it honestly looks really promising though with that back end. That could really be a nice look, really nice and curved and rounded there, and be really, really sharp. So we'll have to wait and see. It looks very promising, and again, we'll see the full thing here in just a few weeks. Lastly, so late last week, the EU did reach an agreement. Last little follow-up here about this whole drama between the EU and Germany and a bunch of other European countries that were pushing back on the internal combustion engine ban in 2035, because that was going to be finalized here this past week, or was supposed to be. And so they pushed back. They said they wanted an exemption for e-fuels so that they could keep making the internal combustion engine stuff, but it would have the e-fuels. The EU proposed a solution where they said, okay, well, you can do that, but then you have to make sure the engine is verifying that it is actually running e-fuel and not, just regular gasoline. I guess there was some back and forth. There was reports that maybe that was something that Germany and other countries weren't okay with having that tech, but it seems like I believe that ends up being the agreement here. I didn't see too many details about what the final agreement was, and it seems like they're still going to hammer out a few of the details, but they've basically agreed to that compromise, I think. And I think that makes the most sense. I think they can already detect the octane, obviously, in these fuels and stuff to adjust timing. So, being able to detect the e-fuels, I don't think would be much harder. So anyway, I think that's what they're going to end up doing here. So just make sure it runs e-fuels, but the internal combustion engine is saved in Europe, which means, again, really pushes out that timeline, because if even Europe can't even get rid of them, they're going to have the e-fuels, even beyond 2035. Then here in America, it's going to be a long time before internal combustion engines actually go away, unless market, buyers and stuff like that dictate it. But otherwise, do not worry about clutching your pearls and worrying about the world ending, because clearly it seems like the gas engine is going to be around for a good long while, even if it is just running on e-fuels. You'll still have those great sounds and all the great, drama and fun of internal combustion engines for a good long while here. Again, that's already 12 years away, even for Europe. And then by the time America adopts the same stuff, it's going to be a long time from now. So we can all breathe a sigh of relief. We'll have our fun, and with the e-fuels, we'll still be, helping with the emissions. And so, a good compromise, in my opinion, from my limited knowledge of the whole situation here. Wow, that sounded nice. Got a bunch of motorcycles there. But anyway, so very interesting to see that. I'm sure all the supercar companies, especially in Italy and stuff, have also breathed a huge sigh of relief here, because I don't think this exemption is even volume limited. So I think they can probably build as much as they want still. And so we'll see if that changes how some of these supercar companies are planning, whether they're still going to do electric stuff, beyond 2035, or if they're just going to be like, hey, everything we're going to sell is e-fuels and figure it out on your own. You'll have to see. It'll be very interesting to see, if anyone changes after this whole thing. But anyway, very interesting to hear that. Lastly, I want to thank all of you who are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have several new members join here this week, mostly thanks to the memberships that many of you very generously gave here during the live stream. Anyway, I want to give a huge thank you first to Zachary Jones, who did also join before the live stream. So thank you so much for joining and becoming a member, Zachary. I really appreciate the support, and I hope that you're enjoying the membership experience so far here. I also wanted to congratulate all the other people who snatched up those memberships. So congrats to Cedric Boujong, Sam Atman, Ryan R., Amateur Superfan, Jeff Hosh, Red Yoshi, George M., John, Jazzbo507, Larry Stugel, and Bryson Shirley for getting those gifted memberships. And I hope you all enjoy the membership experience. I hope you consider sticking around after that gift is over. And I'm excited to post more behind the scenes stuff there on that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the blooper reel this week. Those of you who are members saw that. And so, anyway, I'm looking forward to chatting with many of you here this Sunday for the live stream as well, if you can make it. But anyway, that's it as far as all the news this week, guys. So let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Please also make sure to leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming as well. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.